How you doing, everybody? Tim here once again. View from the South Stands coming to you on Sunday after Toronto FC's most recent game, where of course they secured a road point in Philadelphia with a 1-1 game against the Philadelphia Union. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, did this game sort of make me feel sort of torn. I watched the game yesterday and I had every intention of actually doing this video right after the game yesterday, but the more I thought about the game and more about what I was going to say about it, the more torn I actually felt, and I really wasn't comfortable just going right off the get-go. I needed to actually take a little bit of perspective, and I want to bring that perspective to you guys right now. And I'm still torn a little bit, I gotta confess. Was that 2 points lost again? 3 games in a row? Los Angeles, of course, now Philly, and of course we had last week at home as well with FC Dallas, where they actually earned a point late. Or was it a theft of a point that the Reds didn't deserve on the road in the first place? And I think there's points to be made for both arguments, really. The Reds didn't really have very many chances, but here they go. They actually convert one of their chances. Their goaltender, which I'll get to in a moment, stands on their head. And they leave Philadelphia with their tail between their legs with a point in their back pocket that they probably didn't deserve, especially based on, 35% possession, 18 shots to 6, being, of course, the shots on target yesterday. But yet again, they also showed a lot of resilience as well. Getting that goal, turning, one of their only chances that they were given again into a goal. They had a couple of players in particular, I think, have outstanding games, and I want to get to those guys right now. I want to start in no particular order with the team's captain, with Mr. Darren O'D. I really believe that Darren is coming into his own as a Toronto FC player, as a Major League Soccer player. A lot of people don't seem to remember this guy was the captain, people. He wasn't just a player. He was the captain of Glasgow Celtic, one of the most storied soccer franchises in the world, a team that actually, did the job on Barcelona in the Champions League this year. And kudos to Celtic for doing that, by the way, and qualifying for the knockout stages, a perennial powerhouse. OD was their captain, a young captain for that team, a team that's had a lot of great leaders over the years, and OD led yesterday. He single-handedly, according to the OptaStats, intercepted and cleared 22 Philadelphia balls from the box yesterday. 13 of those were interceptions, 9 of those were headers to clear the ball away. Lord knows where Toronto FC would have been yesterday without Darren O'D. Especially considering that Philly had roughly 65% possession and a lot of chances to score. OD snuffed a lot of those opportunities out before they even became reasonably dangerous, and he was really instrumental, I think, for keeping Toronto FC into the game, and he is really coming into his own on the field as a vocal leader. Gabe Agbusamandi had a good game again yesterday, in my humble opinion. Again, I think largely due to the ability of the guy next to him. Joe Bendik. What can I say about Joe Bendik other than that he was absolutely spectacular yesterday? Again, the stats don't lie. He made 9 saves yesterday. Of those 9, I would probably classify about maybe 4 of them as game-saving. Maybe 6 of those saves of the spectacular kind. He kept the Reds in with a chance single-handedly, especially with so many shots and opportunities on them. Simple as that. Without him yesterday, TFC loses and loses badly. And I think it's his job until he loses it after that performance. And if those kinds of performances are going to keep him in the net, love you to death, Stephen Fry, but if Bendik keeps playing the way that he's playing, I want Joe Bendik to be the goalkeeper for Toronto FC. And one other note about Bendik, Bendik, I should say, is I think Kevin Payne doesn't get a lot of credit for him as well. Ryan Johnson and Milos Kosic were traded to the Portland Timbers, and Bendik was basically an afterthought, a throw-in in that deal on Portland's part, because he wasn't playing there. They brought Milos Kostic in, of course, from Toronto to be one of their keepers as well. So TFC was savvy enough to actually pick him up as a backup. Fry hurts himself, and Bendik actually secures the starting position, and I think he went a long way towards securing the starting position yesterday. Again, really that simple. And of course, we've got the wee little Welshman, Robert Earnshaw. He's now got 5 goals, by the way, people, if you're counting at home, in 6 games. And if you do the arithmetic, that's 1 goal for every 1.2 games. That is by far and away, I know a really small sample size, but that is by far and away the highest strike rate for a forward that Toronto FC has ever had. And it goes without saying, we're 6 games into the season right now, and Toronto FC has only lost 1 time. And Robert Earnshaw's goals and timely goals and conversion of the relatively few chances that the offense is actually getting actually speaks to the quality that he's actually brought to the team. And just to give you some context, going into 2013, and I'm looking at all competitions here, I'm talking Voyageurs Cup, Champions League, MLS, all of the competitive fixtures that Toronto FC has ever played. Until Robert Earnshaw's 1.2 goals, 1 game every 1.2, 1 goal, I should say, every 1.2 games, the closest was Danny Couverman's. Couverman's was on a goal for every 1.98 games, so essentially a goal every other game for Danny Couverman's. Dwayne Di Rosario from the midfield was a goal every 2.1 games, so him and Couverman's roughly the same. Just to give you some context, Chad Barrett was a goal a little bit over every 3 goals per game, and I think Ryan Johnson was in the 2.5 range thereabouts. So again, nobody close so far to Ryan Earnshaw's goals. Robert Earnshaw, I should say, goals, and let's hope that he, of course, keeps that up, because very simply, in a simple game, if you can manage to keep the ball out of the net a little better than you did last year, if you can convert chances when the chances are given to you, guess what? You're going to be competitive. And TFC, even though they struggled in the last 5 minutes, and I'll get to the last 5 minutes in a second, I think it's fair to say that they're making some progress this year, at least in my opinion. Now, the only other performance worthy of mention was that of the official, was that of the referee. And I think it's really fair to say that Toronto FC felt hard done by Soren Stoika's decision to give a second yellow card to Ashton Morgan late in the second half, I think 2 minutes from time, on what was at best a 50-50 play. Morgan had already had a yellow card. Actually, TFC were given 6 yellows, 6 if you can believe it, to Philly's 2, and then Ashton gets a second yellow on what I think, and I'm being generous here to the official, what I think was at best a 50-50 ball. He gets sent off, and lo and behold, the goal that comes from Philly to tie the game came from a ball that was put into the box from basically the spot on the field that Ashton Morgan would have actually been in. So would the game have ended up drawn at the end? I don't know. Who knows what would have happened? But I think Toronto was pretty hard done by there. And especially considering that, and I want to call one guy out in particular, Danny Cruz, a Philadelphia defender who, particularly in the first half, did his best. Greg the Hammer, I was going to say, is it Greg the Hammer Schultz? No, it's Greg the Hammer Valentine, the wrestler. But Dave Schultz, Dave the Hammer Schultz, the Philadelphia Flyer hockey player from back in the day, he gave a couple of nasty elbows and forearms, and he really poleaxed a couple of TFC players in the first half. He should have gotten ejected, by my count, at least twice, and yet nothing really happened there. And a lot of the angst, especially online, got me thinking about the stats and about the big picture. And I just saw something that I think is a little interesting. I'm not really going to comment too much on it, but I really think it's a statistic worthy of discussion at the very least, by Toronto FC fans in the coming days. And I'd really like to hear what you guys think about it in the days and weeks ahead. And you can just jot your comments down below in the space provided. Is if you go back to 2007, if you take a look at every competitive fixture that this team has played, Toronto FC has 94 more yellow cards earned than its competition. In 240 games, since April of 2007, Toronto FC has been given 444 yellow cards and 35 red cards in comparison to 350 yellows and 27 reds to the competition. So 8 more red cards and 94 more yellow cards in 240 games. The average is 1.83 yellows per game for TFC versus 1.46 for the competitors. Is that bias? Is that an anti-Canadian, anti-TFC bias? I don't know. Is that goon play from Toronto FC? Maybe. Is it a combination of both? I don't know, but I really think it's worthy of mention that TFC has gotten so many more cards than the competition over the years, and it's a substantial difference, and I think it's worthy of discussion at the very least, and I really hope to hear what you guys have to say about that in the coming days and weeks. And I really think that amateur referees, and only 4 of the referees, by the way, in Major League Soccer are full-time employees. Everybody else is essentially an amateur. They're not professionally paid. They have other day jobs, and they're not working their craft, day in and day out the way most working people are. I think it's an absolute disgrace for a league claiming to want to be world class. You got to get that right, Don Garber. Yesterday, the referee lost the plot. He may have cost Toronto FC 2 points that they richly, in my opinion, deserved. And not only that, the refereeing issues continue because Ashton Morgan can't play this coming Saturday against Houston. Darren Russell picked up a knock. He's injured. Richard Eckersley is still out with a knock. He may not play. And now Ashton Morgan is suspended. So how the TFC backline is going to look, considering it's going to be very short-handed at fullback, and part of that issue is based on the fact that one of our players got at best a dubious second yellow/red, shows that at least in this case, I wouldn't necessarily say the bias, but I think the incompetence of the referee is something the TFC is going to have to pay for more than one game. So I want to hear what you guys think about Eckersley and Morgan and Russell and the problem at fullback. I want to hear what you think about the referees and the additional yellow cards that Toronto FC has been earning historically since going back to 2007. I want to hear what you think about Bendik, Earnshaw, and my unsung hero yesterday, Darren O'D. And I really want you to let us know what you think. So feel free, as I stated, down below, down there, to let us know what you think about what I'm saying and about what you think is happening with the team as well. I want to thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys at BMO Field this Saturday coming in another tough game against the Houston Dynamo. Houston Dynamo. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.